Okay, hi everybody.
Hello.
Hi, so this is Helen and Greg from Elium speaking at the moment. So we're just starting off our webinar. Just a quick check, can you leave a comment to tell us that you're hearing us correctly and that you see us correctly also. So just wait a couple of seconds for you to confirm. Okay, super. So let's get started. Let me share my screen again with you. Oops. Here we are. Up, share my screen, and off we go. So, well, welcome. We're glad to be here today from the Elium team. So in a couple of words, what is the agenda of today's webinar? We'll kick off by a small introduction around knowledge sharing and knowledge sharing platforms in companies today. Then I'll hand over the conversation to Hélène. So Hélène will talk about currently today how we're actually deploying and implementing these types of projects inside companies. What are the key success factors, and today what are the types of methodologies that we support through our services. And then we'll dig into really like a live demo. Start off by our mobile application and then dig off to the desktop, and we'll finish off with like 15 minutes of questions and answers that you'll be free to ask. And so just leave us your questions inside the comment box if you have any, or in the Q&A module that's available for this purpose. So, quick introduction regarding knowledge sharing. One of the quotes that we recently heard from one of our customers, so he's the CEO of a large consulting group based in France, they were having a challenge in terms of search of information and also in terms of internal comms. So at first they were looking kind of for an internal Google and internal Facebook for the really interactive and engaging experience. And they found us on the market. We launched a project, and he realized that we also brought something that was much more interesting and relevant for their purpose, and it was actually an internal Wikipedia. So this is also a good kind of a metaphor for what today Elium and the core strengths of Elium provides the companies we deployed inside. In terms of context, there's technological and the societal context. The fact is, and already in our private lives, everything is pushing us to consume, whether it's food, but also information in very small pieces. And so this effect of fast food and fast information is actually having a big impact in our professional lives too. So there are many tools that are being pushed by IT, and one of the huge let's say technological environments that's being rolled out today is Office 365 with Teams, for example, which is an equivalent to Slack. It's really putting the focus on real-time collaboration, real-time interaction. So if we're looking at today, well, obviously email remains king. I mean, for most of you out there, it depends obviously on digital maturity of your company, but in most cases, 80% of information sharing is happening through email. For some of you, it will be happening through shared drives, so Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, where you're going to be storing and organizing information in basically in a tree-based structure. And we're seeing the explosion of group chats. So Teams, Slack, there's a lot of focus being put on these types of environments. And the main issue that's happening with these environments is that, well, how can we actually share and refine key information, whether it's inside a team or whether it's between different teams. And the same issue is happening in companies of the size of 50 or 100 employees to several thousands of employees. So there's a key issue there. There's a key issue about avoiding reinventing the wheel. Obviously, these are prone to mistakes. There's a lot of effort that's going to be just duplicated, and a lot of waste of money and time and opportunities. And then, I mean, you might have just the key basics in place, but how are you going to be engaging your workforce around these types of environments? Those are the key challenges that generally, I said, the market comes to us with. 3 key metrics. About 1/5 of an employee's time is spent just searching for information, or perhaps for people who have that information. In terms of number of tools they're using, there are many different places where you're actually going to be sharing and refinding information. On average, you have more than 10 business applications, which poses the key issue of where can I find strategic and key information inside my org. And then there's the information overload. Now we're talking about the fast food, fast information, whether it's a number of emails received today, but also with smartphones, the overload in terms of notifications, you're going to be seeing a real issue in terms of also attention span of your internal collaborations. So what do we provide in a nutshell? Well, it's a solution, software as a service solution. We've been providing it for the past 10 years and it's been evolving. So based on your experience and the experience you see with the environment, it provides knowledge capabilities, so being able to organize information, being able to capture and curate and create these kinds of collections of content around a specific area, kind of package of information. You're going to be able to search very easily inside that information, and it will provide like social engagement. So just making sure it's not a static environment, but also very dynamic and very, very lively. And Hélène will talk to you about that a bit more in detail, but we do provide deployment services, integration, import as well. If you have existing Lotus Notes, SharePoint, or shared drives, we can just pull that into Elium and restructure it and make it more easily accessible. And then just on the long term, you have the initial setup, but obviously you have the long-term support and benchmarking that we can carry out as well. And we work with many different types of companies. So whether they're small, medium to large organizations, one department or cross-department projects, these are the types of organizations that we work with. So that was the introduction. Hélène, off to you. So in terms of key success factors.
Yeah, we wanted to start about those key success factors because all along the year with our customer, we realized that some factors were really key for the success of the project. And we believe that just opening a tool or saying like, hey, there is a new tool will not work and will not lead the project to the success. So I wanted to present you today a few success factor that could invite you to start, reflect on, or to start thinking about those and make sure that your project could take the road to the success. So first is crystal clear goals. Of course, it sounds obvious, but sometimes the project of bringing a new tool just is coming with a lot of objective, and the tool will solve a lot of problems. But we invite you to be really clear on the goal and maybe choose one specific objective and make sure you stick to it for the first year, for example, and then see if we can increase and add new usage. But don't try to do everything with one tool because it will not really work. And of course, the sponsorship behind the tool and the initiatives is really important. We believe that if there is a sponsor, there is someone at a high level who can really support your initiative, make sure that it's understood from the people in your organization. It's really, really important that someone is supporting your initiative. The second thing is I would say the clarity of the IT environment. Greg talked about it. There are a lot of tools right now, and the employees struggle to find their way between and within those tools. And we advise you to, and we help you to do that. Actually, we draw the different tool of your IT environment, and we try to focus on each objective of the tool. What can we find inside this tool? To who is can this tool be helpful, and try to see if Elium fit in this environment, how we can really make it clear for the users, because it's really important for them to have a meaning behind a tool and to understand why this tool is coming and what can it bring to my current job and to my daily job, because then it makes no sense. And so we advise you to do that, and we help you. Actually, I will talk a bit about that later, to draw this IT environment to make it clear for everyone. Also, an important point is we believe that project team with many skills, it's more convenient, but actually it's more efficient as well. For example, in our project team, we have people that can be knowledge manager, human resource manager, or communication manager, and the combination of those 3 or 4 profiles are really good. Is really good for the success, because we can have a sense of the expertise and the skills thanks to the human resource manager. We can have a good knowledge of the reality of the business if we have someone responsible of a department or something, someone who can really tell us the real problem and issue that the users are facing and how we can help to solve that. And a communication manager or knowledge manager to have this broader objective on better communication, better collaboration, or better knowledge sharing. So we believe that a project team should be made of 2 or 3 people, and that are not really they don't have the same skills or same function. And
how about IT teams? Are they also involved in the project?
Most of the time they are not. We don't really need to involve, the IT team in the project management itself. Of course, we're gonna ask them few information if we need to integrate with the directory or stuff like that, but they are, I would say, never in the project team to lead the project with us, because it's more about animation, communication, and change management than IT issues.
So they're more going to be involved in like the upfront security assessment,
yeah, probably,
for a bit of integration.
True.
Purposes then.
And last but not least is we believe that experimentation is a key. So we don't need to reflect during 2 years to put in place Elium. We don't need to do the perfect structure of the tool before launching it. We believe that we should start small, start with a pilot or small community, try and learn and change and be agile around this. So our space and our community, Greg will show you that just after, can be really adapt easily, can change really easily. And so let's start and learn from it, and then adapt afterwards if we think that something went wrong or it's not matching the user expectation, for example. And a keyword that we like as well is proximity. We try to be really close from our customer, but we believe it's also important that the project team is close from the user and the end user to maybe launch a survey, hear what they think, hear what they can improve, and make sure that this proximity is a key to make sure that the project is a success on the long term. So we think those 2 keywords are really important. And based on all those facts, I will say, or learnings from all over the year, we developed 2 methodologies. I will just go quickly into those 2, but one is called FAST and one is called ADOPT. And the FAST methodology is we guide the customer through a simple usage. If the project is really clear, the scope is quite small, we have few calls, and we try to put a rhythm to make sure that the solution is developed on time and that it's open really quickly. And ADOPT is more for complex usage, because you want to achieve many things, you have many objectives, many shareholders, and that will take more time. So that's kind of the fast, but with more workshop and walking session that we organize with you, and we invite you to be there and brainstorm and create communication plan. And
for the fast, you're mentioning a small scope. Does that mean in terms of number of users as well, or? It
can, the most simple criteria would be a small scope in terms of end user that you will put in the platform. But we have also customers that they have a really big scope, but the usage is really simple. They just want to share article about a specific topic. That's really simple, and that maybe doesn't require a workshop, brainstorm about communication plan, strategy, and a lot of stuff. So it can be both, but of course, we
have an example of departments typically that we work with and do that a lot. What comes to mind is like market intelligence departments, where typically you're going to have a small group of people and specialists just gathering information and compiling it and then just distributing it. And so in that case,
that's more a simple usage because it's 5, 10, 15 people really gathering information and spreading it to the whole company. And that's more simple, even if the scope is really big. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So to give you an idea today, yes, our largest rollouts are 50,000 users, but on average we're looking at 500 to 1,000 users in terms of rollout.
Yeah. So just an example, that's the journey that we follow with our customer for fast methodology. So we have a kickoff call and a few follow-up calls with, I would say, homeworks that we give to the customer. So we try to tackle few topics, space, category. We help you, we challenge you. And then for the next call, you have to prepare some stuff, decide the structure you want, decide the taxonomy you would like, so the tags that you would like to put in the platform. And then also the communication, which resource do you have for the communication plan, how you're going to organize the launch, because we believe that's important to make a bit of noise around this launch. So that's really the path we are following.
So here there are 5 to 6 like follow-up calls and key milestones. Is that like a call a day, or how does that work in terms of timing?
If we can stick to it, we actually would like to have a call every week, 1 hour every week with us. So and 2 training sessions that would take a bit longer. But of course, the project team needs to work a bit more on their own. So that's we have a call every week, but that will take like 2-3 hours also reflection internally how to do it and actually implement what we decide and what we discuss in the platform. So add content, add space and everything. So yeah, that's more or less and so in 8 weeks for fast methodology, we can launch Elium.
We're often asked the amount of time that a project team should actually set aside to be working on this homework and stuff. Do you have a number to share, an estimate?
Yeah, I would say it depends on how well you are prepared about the project. We have seen a customer really well prepared, and when we have the call, it's really crystal clear, and actually that's not really a lot of job after. But I would say on average, let's count on 3 to 5 hours per week during the 8 weeks of onboarding, so preparation of the platform. And the thing is, when the platform is launched, that's not finished. Because some customers say, yeah, let's go, that's it. But actually that's where it starts, because then it's another type of job. It's not preparation, it's not adding content and just making sure that you decide well your structure, but it's more guide your user, communicate about the platform during strategic meeting, continue answering question online. So I would say during the 8 weeks, it's like 3 to 5 hours, and then 2 to 3 hours during the 6 first month of the initiative, and then you can actually trust, or I hope that you can maybe decrease the time you involve in the project, because some what we call animators or community manager would have take the lead and make sure that it works. So that's a bit like the...
You could probably for the next webinar show another slide.
Yeah, true. And we have different services available to our customer. You can go online and see our learning center, learn.elium.com. And we have a customer community that the customer really like, actually. It's a Elium platform, but we open it to all our customers, all the project leader and they discuss and they exchange their article and knowledge, and we organize user club when they meet and they share the best practices and how they use Elium. And we have, as Greg said, some services of import and integration with other tools and a support that you can also trust every day to maybe enter a ticket and ask a few questions.
So it's probably worth mentioning, so we have a dedicated team of 4 people that actually provides these services internally. So they don't look after the product itself, they really look after close support. And in terms of typically integration imports, we do all of this in-house. So we can work obviously with other organizations and integrators, but we have all of the expertise and the experience also to carry that out. Okay, perfect. So I can continue on speaking. Let's go to the
demo.
And so what I will suggest is to start off by the mobile application. So in a nutshell, Elium is a knowledge sharing platform that acts as a desktop hub for gathering content that can be located basically anywhere, whether it's public content that you can bookmark or that sits on your shared drives on your computer and gather that and make people share it. But it also becomes more and more a mobile hub, and we're seeing, especially for readership and for reading use cases, mobile is extremely appreciated. So we've been putting a lot of energy in developing this application that's available both on iOS and on Android. So if I share my application here, share iPad, you should be able to see it. There we are. So I'll kick off by with a very simple use case. So here I have an article that's, so we're not actually in France, we're in Belgium, so we can mention this. Here I have a small article that I want to share, that I'm reading. I have the ability, here if I click on the share button, as you can see, an Elium shortcut that will allow me to just capture it inside a specific space inside. And so let me just relaunch this. Here we are. So I have the ability to share it inside a specific space. Let's say it's going to be the press and buzz space. I share it in one click and it will be shared with my colleagues inside the knowledge sharing environment. If I come back to now the application, here we are, let me just refresh it. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. So you have the key concepts of Elium that are there in front of you. First of all, you have an overview of all of the spaces that are available to you. We actually organize these spaces at an additional level. So you have 2 levels of structure. And in this case, we created 3 spaces that are communities of practice. We have 3 spaces that are dedicated to the executive team. We have some resource-orientated spaces, and we created some more open communication-orientated spaces here. So this is something that you can personalize both in terms of look and feel. So whether it's you can apply your own branding on here, but also in terms of naming and structure. So this is, as Hélène mentioned as well, we work together on a first structure, and then you can make this evolve over time pretty easily. Then what you can see is you have an activity feed, and this activity feed will put a lot of focus on content itself. I mean, you have the ability to like and comment information, but it'll be really shedding the light on like documents and on the content that are going to be shared. As you can see, the top content here is the article that I've just been capturing through my app. I'll be able to preview it, and I can read the original if I need to. At the bottom, each time you open up content, you're going to be able to like the content, engage with it, leave a comment if you want to give feedback on the environment. And then you can also bookmark it. So at the bottom, you have a little bookmark icon that's going to be extremely handy, especially when you're on the run, because it'll keep let me just refresh it. So if I open up the bookmarks, here you can see that I have a shortcut to all of my favorite readings. Now this is something that's really useful, especially when you're on the desktop application during the day, or you're receiving content even by email or through Slack or whatever. You can easily bookmark it inside Elium, and once you're preferably not driving, but if you're sitting like in the bus or elsewhere, you can just very easily access in a click to those contents.
Is it linked to my desktop app, right?
Yes, so anything that I'll bookmark on the desktop will also appear. So all of this is synchronized, definitely. I have notifications, so in comments, I'll be able to mention you, Hélène, for example, if you have if I want you to comment or give feedback on specific content. And I'm going to have a user directory as well. So this is going to be connected to your own Active Directory if you're using Microsoft, but it will allow you to search for either a specific person based on their name, or perhaps also based on like a function. So this is full text. It also indexes the profile of these people. When we're talking about search, at every time at the top, you're going to have a search bar. So you're going to be able to launch a search for, let's say, digital, and I'm going to be getting a whole series of suggestions, whether it's existing spaces that host this type of information, specific content, specific people. So this is also, you have a very efficient search, and we'll show you on the desktop because you have an advanced search that can be useful for you as well. Obviously, you can start also writing content inside the mobile app. This is something that I mean, can be easily done, let's say, on the run. You can have a little bit of formatting. You can go and select a specific document, a file that's on inside another application, Google Drive or else. But generally, sharing will rather happen on the desktop. And so this is something that I can share with you. Let me just show you another type of content. An onboarding pack. This is an example of content that you can create inside Elium, which is not a simple article or just a simple document, but it's actually a collection of items. And the idea is that we're not only on let's say, a collection of documents, but I can have videos, and I can immediately preview also if I want to. Here I have a to-do list. It's basically, this is a wiki page that anyone can start editing and iterate on, so it can just be evolve over time. I'm going to have links to other pieces of content inside the platform. I'm going to have a list here, for example, RFPs in the case of a sales onboarding. So you're going to be able to just read that information very quickly, very easily. Probably time to go back to the desktop application. So let me share my screen again. How are we doing in terms of timing? Okay, so I'll spend about 5 minutes on the desktop, and so feel free to ask your questions in the meantime. Okay, so let's head over to our demo platform. So this is actually exactly the same platform that I've just been showing you on the mobile app. So what we have is a welcome page. It's going to be the overview of different spaces. You're going to find the spaces in here as well. If I want to create a new space, I can do. Just for the let's say, just for the record, not everyone can create freely a space. So what we recommend is to have like an intermediate validation to make sure that the platform administrators who actually see all of the existing spaces perhaps guide the user to an existing space rather than creating just a new one. So this is something that we also recommend. And so when a user creates one, he can just put a small message, just justifying why he would like to create a new space. You're going to be refinding in the desktop application exactly the same basics that I've been showing you. Here, if I open the onboarding pack, it's just going to be easier to read the content. You're going to have a table of contents that are automatically generated on the left. On the right, you always have also the conversations around here. And in the center, so we always put a lot of focus on the content itself. This is where you're going to be able to, for example, share a welcoming video. Just for the anecdote, in this case, we're growing our teams quite steadily. We just had a whole sales team that was in the UK in London at the Smile London show, and we had a newcomer arrive on that day. And so instead of basically welcoming him with a purely static set of documents and other colleagues, he was also got a small video welcoming him. What you can be getting is also like previewing of content inside the environment. So whether it's PowerPoints, Word documents, PDFs, any type of content, we're going to be showcasing it. In terms of, I mean, something that's very specific about Elium as well is the ease of use and how easy it is for anyone to kind of edit and share information. I can very easily share a document just by drag and dropping it if I want. You know, I have here a couple of examples, and I can drag and drop and share inside the story. But I can also start, for example, I have a little notion of blocks that just allows me to go and fetch other types of content. One use case that Elium is very good at supporting is that if you're using OneDrives or shared drives, Google Drives, for your working documents, is using Elium as this top layer of key knowledge. And so here in the case of an onboarding content, or let's say a project content, we have a lot of that with consulting firms, is you can just go inside your Google Drive, you select a specific folder of that project, and we're pulling in this content and with a preview of that folder inside this knowledge capsule. So this is really a very quick way of cherry picking key content here, building context around it with text, with multimedia. As you can see, I mean, you can add, like even embed code, you can embed HTML, provide quotes, link to other content. So it's very flexible and very agile there. I mean, here we can't fit everything in, but obviously there are little bells and whistles. One which is much appreciated is just broadcasting this information also by email. So you can actually, everything that you've been building into one of these pages, you can just target a specific set of users or spaces and just push that out and make sure that they all receive this also by email if they're interested. So this question of being a knowledge hub, but also having the communication tools, it's essential. And also in the methodology, you work a lot on both push and pull strategies to actually get engagement going and make it easier for both users and platform administrators. In terms of helping people share information, something that we've been bringing quite recently inside Elium are actually the ability of templating content. So instead of just starting off from scratch, of sharing an event, a link, a file, I'm going to be able to immediately create, let's say, a meeting's minutes and have an existing structure in place. So if you have, let's say, in a knowledge management project, already a structure of, let's say, a best practice, an onboarding pack, an after-action review, if you work in market intelligence on competition battle cards, all of that can be kind of pre-structured. And again, it's really simple to just create a new template, give it a name, give it a symbol. What is the metadata also that I want to be able to, I want people to fill in. There's a lot of powerful abilities there, and it's very simple to administer and make that evolve over time. Once more, here focus on this specific type of field is that if I have a specific meeting summary, I can add tags to it. Now, this is something that is, again, a power aspect of Elium, is that any content that you are sharing inside the platform, you're going to be able to structure it with tags. And the idea is that tags can also be structured in different families, so in different categories of tags. And you're going to be able to use this in a very powerful way. And so just like search for all of the content that have been tagged with tutorial about, let's say, the Scrum topics. You're going to be able to also filter. This is more advanced usage. I mean, here we're looking at the search is, I mean, works very well for like all of the basic content, all of the text inside the content. All of that will be, you have to like the internal Google search works. All of the filtering is when you start getting a lot of content inside the environment, like several thousand documents. Tree-based isn't always the most appropriate. So you're going to be looking at perhaps just tagging all that content and managing it. We're slowly going to be ending the demo part. there are still many things, so definitely if you have some more questions, we can try and address them now, but you can also get in touch with some other guys if needed. So, in terms of questions, let's have a look here. Okay, let's have a look here at the up. Okay, so we have a first question regarding integrations. How do you integrate today with Google? So they're using obviously Google Suites. So this is Nicholas is asking a question. Well, the very first aspect that you have to integrate with for these types of environments is going to be from a security and identity management. So we first integrate with single sign-on. And so this is very important to just connect, whether it's in the Microsoft world to the Active Directory that you have, or in Google, just again, the list of users you have inside your organization. And we're going to be pre-creating all of those user profiles and access rights inside Elium.
Yeah, that removes the barrier to just enter this login page and start to type again your password. And so that's the first step that we encourage, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is really going to be essential otherwise, and it's also a potential security flaw. So just making sure they don't have to remember the username password, and that's something that's essential. We have another question. So perhaps here for you, Hélène, a question from Stefania. So how do you implement the navigation structure of a hypertext? So I'm not quite sure of the hypertext, but we're probably here. Let me share the screen as well. So I presume you're mentioning here the structure of the spaces, groups of spaces, tagging.
Yeah, maybe we haven't been too in depth into that, but actually there are, I would say, 3 levels. So the structure, it's first the group that you can see here, then you enter a group and you have some space, and actually spaces are the most important notion in Elium, because that's where you post the content, where you add members, and that's really defining the community of people exchanging together information. But it's within a space, or inside a space. Maybe Greg didn't show it, of course, but it's actually inside a space you can structure your content by tabs and smart tabs. So if you like to have like a social space with a lot of exchange and comment and like, and you want to encourage people to exchange and communicate together, that would fit. But you're not obliged to keep it. Actually, you can remove it and say, that's here. I want to create a library or more a resource space, because that's where you put all the processes and guidelines, or I don't know, a really important document of the firm. Then you can remove the activity and just put the library as a first tab and make a resource space. That's where Elium is really agile, because you can do many things. And after that, you have what we call smart tabs that make you that allow you to structure by different topic, by different content type, by different steps, and you can create that really easily. Greg is showing it. You move it, you choose the tab you want to create, and you decide which content you want to put the emphasis on. But because it can be that this week or this month, video and best practice are really important, but next month you want to highlight a conference or something, and you move it, you change it. So that's the way we structure information, and it's based on tag or content type, can be based on language or country. And you can also create small folder when you actually organize your tab, if you actually have too many tabs. So it's more a three level that you can create. But as Gregory said, it's not really about folder and sub-folder and sub-folder. It's more cross criteria that you can use. So you use the index, the full text search, but you can combine it with tags and with the different criteria that make you structure your information. But that's a work that we do with the customer, and we help them to move from this folder structure to a structure more flat and more dynamic. If it answered the question.
Perhaps.
I hope. I'm not sure with the hypertext. Maybe if she can comment.
Perhaps. So let's go and have a look. mean if you have with different sections? Exactly.
Okay.
So that's exactly the question. So you can be working in groups of spaces inside a space. You have different tabs, and then if you're really looking at a lot of content, for example, an archive space with, let's say, 500 or 1,000 documents, you're really going to be using all of the categorized tags that are applied throughout. We have another question regarding personalization and branding. I mentioned it, but indeed I didn't show it either, so let me show you quickly. Here, what you can do, and we're in a space, the idea is that as a space administrator, I'll be able to very easily just customize it. And so whether it's in terms of members, so as you can see, a space can actually be private, it can be protected, or it can be public. And inside the space, users can have different types of roles, meaning they can share information, but perhaps also moderate, remove information, restructure it, or just a plain reader. And then, so that's part of the personalization. And there's obviously more the visual, the design. And so you also have the ability just to very easily change the image, drag and drop, choose a color for your space. And once you come back on the overview, it's going to be changed. And so it's very simple setup. We also provide like banks of standard images there, so you don't have to produce that necessarily internally. But it's quite often companies enjoy having their branding also applied, so we can provide that. So up. Do we have any questions here again? Let me see. In terms of imports, what do you provide? What type of tools do you support in terms of import? Actually, until about 2 years ago, we had a lot of Lotus Notes imports.
Yes.
So we developed quite a strong expertise in that area, knowing that IBM didn't have kind of a modern alternative to that. And Elium still is a very good fit for all of these document databases that were located inside Lotus Notes. So we developed this. We've been developing shared drive imports. You can do that autonomously. So you have a shared drive folder-based tool inside the environment that you can also basically select a whole folder and subfolders and tag it in a bulk way. Again, here we're talking about power use cases. There's always the question, the technical aspect, but there's also the, let's say, more the strategic and the analysis of these databases. And so we do provide support as well there. So you're not on your own if you have like a whole set of databases. But
yeah. Now I wanted to say, like, we analyze also the relevant, if it is relevant to import those databases and how to import them in a clean way, because sometimes some customer want to import archive database, but it depends if it makes sense or not. The purpose is not to fill, I would say, the platform with a lot of document that will not interest anyone, but so to decide what we want to find on this platform, which type of content. Of course, it could be content like really basic content or resource that everyone needs, but that they are not looking for it every day. But we would need also to find some strategic content or content that attract people, that they need really to look for it, or they are original or creative content that bring people to come on the platform. So that's also something we discussed during the methodology, because we think the content strategy is something really important to make the project successful. Yeah.
And on which you'll be communicating. So obviously when you roll out these types of initiatives internally, and you're facing Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Yammer, where you're going to have a lot of content being produced by people, but a lot of short-term lived content as well. How do you differentiate yourself? This is really how being this like high-quality content and knowledge, medium and long-term knowledge, as mentioned, this is something that's very important. And so all of the kind of user experience and features, both front office and back office, have actually been thought out and evolved over time to address this. Okay, it's now 1:45, so we have been exactly finished. And so here, just as a quick word of kind of conclusion, I mean, we're definitely available for any of your questions. We have a sales team as well with 4 people that are available, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. We have a free trial available too. Obviously, the free trial is the ability to kind of play with the technology, but also experience just the level of responsiveness and the experience of our teams. So, voilà. Hélène, many thanks for the webinar. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. And wish you a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.